Today I will be working on a chainsaw to replace an old primer bulb. The tools I will use for this project is a socket, a flathead screwdriver, and a pair of needle nose pliers. There is an all-in-one tool that is used for chainsaws. If you have this tool, you can also use it for this project. I'll also be filing down the chain with this file. As you can see, the purge pump or primer bulb is cracked and is of no use for this chainsaw. First, I'll remove the cover that protects the clutch that turns the chain. I'll remove 2 bolts on this cover using my socket. Once the bolts are removed, this cover lifts right up. Now, I'll use a flathead screwdriver and release tension from the tensioner bolt. As I turn the bolt, I will check on the chain and you'll see that some tension is released from the chain. I'll continue this until there's enough slack to take the chain off the guide and take the guide off its mount. Once that happens, I'll remove the chain by pointing it towards me and right out from the clutch. Next, I'll remove the cover that protects the air filter. Underneath the air filter is the carburetor. There are a couple tubings that are attached to the purge pump. The purge pump is held in with 2 clips. I will use my needle nose pliers to push the 2 clips in and push up, and the purge pump will pop right out of there. You'll see one tube has come disconnected, and the other tube I'll disconnect with my fingers here. Now the primer bulb is out and I can attach the tubing to the new primer bulb. I like to match them up so that there's no confusion to where the tubing goes for the inlet and outlet. After I have the first tube on, I'll use my needle nose pliers to assist me in taking the second tube out, and I will insert it over another inlet to the primer bulb. Check to make sure that these tubes are pointed in the correct position when reinserting the purge pump back into its slot. You'll hear it click. That means it is secure, and I will use a pair of needle nose pliers to help me put the tubings back in place. The top tubing goes directly to the carburetor. The bottom tubing is the inlet from the gas tank. Once the tubings are connected, the primer bulb is ready to be primed. Now I'll use a garden hose to clean all the parts. You may use an air compressor, but water's okay to use on a chainsaw. The only thing is you want to make sure no water goes into the housing for the carburetor. So what I'll do is use the air filter and cover so that I can safely spray the entire chainsaw out and get all that dirt and debris off there. I'll do the same for all the extra parts. After I dry the chainsaw off, I'll take the air filter cover and air filter back out and slap the air filter on a towel to dry it off, and then check to make sure there's no extra debris or water by the carburetor. Now you'll see the air filter has only one way that it can go in. It has a lip there, so you're going to place it in only one way, and the cover has a little notch on the side, so you know exactly how it is placed. Then I'll secure that back onto the chainsaw. Now if you want to reuse your chain, if it's old, you'll not be attaching a new chain, you can revive it by using some bearing oil and spread it across the chain, and this will remove some surface rust, and working into the chain, move the chain connections, the chain links back and forth so that the chain will be able to move smoothly when reattached. This chain has an arrow at the top of it. This is the direction it runs away from the chainsaw when you reinsert it. Now, this is the actual tensioner. This is what I was moving before with the screwdriver. This works back and forth, as you can see. This puts tension on the chain guide. When you put the chain back on, the easiest way is to turn the chain to you and then towards the back of the clutch. Now the tensioner has a little pin and it goes into one of the two holes for this bar guide. I'll put the bar guide over and attach the chain onto the bar guide. Now, using my screwdriver, I'll start to screw the bolt for the tensioner and put some tension on the chain, enough to hold the bar guide and chain in place momentarily. Then I will take my cover and reattach it with the two bolts loosely. You do not want to tighten this up just yet. You want to have enough play to continue to put tension onto your chain. Now work your chain back and forth so that you get all the slack as you possibly can, and then start to tighten the chain with the tensioner and go back and forth. As you can see here, it takes a couple times. Now what you want is just a little bit of slack on that chain, just the tiniest bit there. Now go ahead and secure the bolts fully with your socket, and you want the chain to be able to move freely. Now I'm going to file this chain on all the teeth. This is an example of one of the teeth. You can see the front of the tooth has that little arrow shape. Use the file at a 45-degree angle, and when you're done you'll see on the edge there, and that's a sharp chain. Now go ahead and start the chainsaw. Make sure everything's working correctly. Take off the safety. And after I run this chainsaw for a couple seconds at full speed, I'll check the chain, and it should inch up by itself without putting any gas. This chainsaw is ready to cut down some trees. Thank you for watching. I hope this video helps.